Hello, I'm Leslie Lloyd. I'm a regional soybean agronomist for Bayer Crop Science. I support the Credenz brand. We're in a Bayer Crop Science agronomy placement trial. This one happens to be near Altoona, Iowa. We have these trials placed all over the Midwest where we look to see where our varieties fit and where they may not fit. This particular location also has planting date, so what we wanted to do is look at the effect of planting date on number of nodes on July 10. We've got 3 planting dates from May 8th to May 18th to June 8th. So we wanted to compare those as far as number of nodes on July 10th. So if we examine these plants, we have lots of blooms already on June 10th. We're actually going from R2 into R3. And if we count the nodes that we have on the soybean plants, we have about 11 nodes that can support pods on July 10th. So moving over a few feet in the plot, we have our second planting date, the same variety, CZ2510 Liberty Link. This is a mid-group 2 variety. So this is planted on May 18th, about 10 days later than the previous plot. So if you look at the development of the plant, we still see very nice growth, very growthy plants. But when we strip back the leaves and start looking, we've lost about 2 internodes. The earlier planted had about 11 internodes. 10 days later, we're looking at 8 or 9 internodes. The earlier planted location, or earlier planted plot, was already going into R3, whereas these plants are just starting to bloom, just going into R1. So we're looking at about 2 fewer nodes and 2 growth stages less, with a difference of 10 days of planting. And again, we're looking at this on July 10th. So now we move into the third planting date. This planting date was June 8th, representing what happens in the Midwest when Mother Nature throws us a curveball and we simply can't get the beans in the ground in a timely fashion. So June 8th, unfortunately, we have a lot of beans planted in this time frame. So if we look at what happens to the plant, the same variety, this is a mid-group 2 variety, CZ2510 Liberty Link. We see obviously much shorter plants, and if we look at the number of nodes, we have 5 or 6 nodes in this planting date capable of supporting a pod and not a single bloom yet. So blooming, or the R1, the reproductive phase for soybeans, is triggered on or around June 20th when the nights start getting longer. And in this particular case, the beans had not been out of the ground very long. They have not gotten enough physical size to start the R1 process. So we have 3 planting dates, considerable difference in size and number of nodes. And in fact, if you compare the May 8th to the June 8th, we have exactly half the number of internodes in the later planting date. And we're back in the field of Credenz 2510, a mid-group 2 Liberty Link soybean. We're revisiting the effective planting date on number of nodes and pods. If you remember, we looked at May 8 planting dates, May 18 planting dates, and June 8th. So in my hands here is the earliest planting date for May 8th. We have 21 nodes. Most of those nodes have pods on them. So the May 8th gives us 21 nodes on August 10th. The May 18th is very respectable, coming in at 19 nodes. Quite a bit of clusters of pods on a lot of those nodes. We're standing in the late planting date of June 8th, and the beans look tremendous from the road. We've got excellent height. We got about 8.5 inches of rain during the month of July, so we really got some excellent growth. And in fact, if you count the number of nodes, we get about 17 nodes on these plants, even planted that late. But the real story is the number of pods per node.